So we have, if you hear us talking to people who aren't here, we're trying to sort through all of this.
Yeah, there's some WotC personnel standing around. Lane Chase, sideboard reporter Scott Johns. Yeah,
there's Craig Gibson, the elusive Craig Gibson.
Oh, the photographer. He's never on camera. He's always behind the camera.
He's taking a picture where you could see a reflection of him in someone's eye.
Oh, over on the other camera, you've got Sheldon. Oh, put the Sheldon picture up.
Yeah, we see there. It really does look like they're under the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, our videographer, John Mortensen, is playing back the video.
Is awesome.
Yeah,
he's got the computer. He's the one that gets the podcast files cleaned up. He's the one that puts the video together, those end-of-day wrap-ups, goes out and shoots all the video for us. There you go. That's sitting at the computer is John Mortensen. He's the tech advisor. He gets head judge Sheldon Menery looking at the tape. Well, it's not a tape. It's a digitized file. I'm going to keep calling it a tape. What am I supposed to call it, right? Scott Larrabee, the Pro Tour manager, leading in. A couple judges, a couple reporters. And the white shirt does belong to Wizards of the Coast Vice President of Organized Play, Chris Galvin. Craig going over to get the photo op. An unusual photo opportunity for Mr. Craig Gibson.
Yeah.
God, what's going through Frank and Cosby's minds
Craig's
here?
not even taking pictures. He's also like crowding in there. He's like, what's going on?
R&D member Paul Sotosanti's been doing coverage here. I believe he's the tall one next to Larrabee.
The world's tallest game designer. Guess he's known here in Japan.
We got to see if we get more people in this shot. That's what we need. More people crowded around the computer. I want to see. Can I get out of the booth and go see?
Sure, go ahead.
You might get lonely.
I could do some karaoke.
Getting lonely, by the way, are Frank Karsten and Katsuhiro Mori just sitting at their table. They've got hands in front of them to play a potential Game 4. They both believe Katsuhiro Mori's up 2-1, but Karsten's finally, I think, starting to realize what happened to him in Game 2, and he's got to be beginning to wonder.
Look at his body language. He's got his arms crossed over his body. And he seems kind of very tense through the shoulders.
Katsu's not exactly comfortable.
Now he's
But I mean, I think for Karsten, this is good news, right? Nothing bad for him can come out of this. He might mize a Game 2 win.
Right.
Like maybe this is a procedural error that's deemed to be major enough that the Game 2 result would be overturned.
I have a sense that I don't think it's going to end up in a game loss. Scott Johns is explaining something here. Looks like he's saying safe.
Brendan, what is Scott Johns saying to the players? Yeah, Sheldon is hunkered down, looking at the computer screen, looking at the video.
Well, now Craig's taking some pictures.
Yeah, Scott Johns was just reiterating that the players are in a holding pattern. They are not to start Game 4. Karsten's starting to smile a little bit. Like I said, if I'm Frank Karsten, I'm happy about this.
Right, you thought you'd lost that game
before.
Now you see a glimmer of hope?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if this is
going on here.
I don't know if this is a game loss caliber offense. It's clearly unintentional, but it is I don't know, fairly major procedural error. Is this procedural error? Is it minor? Is it major? Is it?
I mean, it's
clearly
it's untapping under Winter Orb, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah, but not really, right? It's really obscure. This plus that plus that.
Right.
Kinda.
Right.
I'm sure precedents that involve Winter Orb are outdated. How about that?
Yeah. We have not on screen, but we have judge who looks pretty upset about the whole thing.
Oh, the table judge.
Table judge
is not happy.
He looks distraught.
I don't know how many people saw this. Like nobody in the crowd yelled about it.
No, we said something. We're like, how does that work?
We even wondered aloud how it worked, and the forums were like you could actually go back and read the forums as they start piecing it together. Like one guy says this, and then they're arguing about it, and they eventually came to the same conclusion we did, which is that shouldn't have actually happened.
Right.
But I don't know that anybody. I'm actually surprised this hasn't come up before. I mean, Seaborn Muse isn't that obscure a card. Yosei certainly sees a lot of play.
Seaborn Muse is a reprint in 9th edition.
Oh, so 9th just came out a couple of months ago, I guess.
Yeah, more or less. It's still fairly new.
Okay.
It's not a commonly played card. It's this kind of really narrow card that was selected for this deck for the mirror match.
Yeah, I have no idea why it doesn't trigger at the beginning of the upkeep either. I mean, like, if you asked me what the wording was, I called it a trigger. They were correcting me in the forums.
Right.
I called it a trigger. I just assumed it would trigger at the beginning of upkeep.
I think that's why it starts. I think that's why, right? It's a fixed awakening.
Oh, right. You know why? I remember the development meetings now. I was on the development team that built that card, and we really did not like the way with Awakening how you could put the trigger on the stack, respond to it by tapping all your stuff, and then get an untap. It was like you got to use your stuff 3 times in this weird way, and that felt so unfair that we decided...
at the beginning of your turn. At the beginning of your turn, you could do it at the beginning of your opponent's turn.
Right. We decided that we didn't want that bizarre timing trick, so we went with a fairly non-standard template. We decided to modify the untap step so it worked the way that sort of intuitively, casually people would think it should work, right? Yeah, I think that we didn't. That it just feels like cheating when you put the Awakening trigger on the stack at the beginning of upkeep, then tap your creatures. What feels like cheating? When, like, for a player who doesn't have an intimate knowledge of the rules, when they play against someone who puts the Awakening trigger on the stack and then taps all their stuff and then allows the Awakening trigger to resolve and untaps all their stuff again, that person feels like something unfair has happened. And we wanted to avoid that sort of rules timing trick, so we templated Seedborn Muse to modify the untap step. Right. Yeah, that's all coming back to me now.
And now Frank's sitting here feeling like something unfair has happened to him. Wow, this is, I was at Japanese Nationals this year, and we had...
Were you there?
I was there.
So what was that situation? Because I never quite understood exactly what happened. So it's very analogous, right?
Yes, it's absolutely very analogous. There's a match between Takuma Morofuji and I don't remember the name of the other player, and they're playing for the final game.
The championship of Japanese Nationals,
right? Japanese Nationals.
For the title.
And
like 10 grand, too.
The player sacrifices there's a Sword of Fire, an ice in play, protection from red, and a player makes a play using sacrificing a Frostling.
Okay.
And he can't make it. There's no legal target. He sacks it.
Oh, because the Frostling was wearing the sword?
The Frostling's wearing the sword, so he wants to sack it.
It has protection from red.
It has protection from red. That's exactly what it was. He wanted to sack it to itself.
Right. Normally, you can always sack a creature with the sack ability. You just target itself.
Right. And it had a major impact on the game. And the other player was briefly declared the Japanese national champion. Like, hey,
really?
Well, this game's over. This guy's just won. And then one of the judges got together and they talked about it. They said, "Is this right? What happened here?" And the players talked about it, and the judges talked about it. And there was a crew doing a documentary about Japanese nationals and Japanese national teams, and they had cameras behind each player's hands.
Wow.
Continuously. I mean, it's important to distinguish this, right? This was a really unusual situation. They had every single card drawn, and and the decks hadn't been shuffled, and they could do all this stuff. And so both players agreed that they wanted a fair. They wanted a fair result.
So they just rolled it back and replayed the game from that point?
They rolled it back to that exact state.
Wow.
And replayed. Now, the decks are shuffled, obviously.
Okay.
The decks are not exactly the same order.
Oh, so they went back to that point and then shuffled the decks?
And then shuffled.
So the players were drawing different cards?
So the players were drawing different cards.
Wow.
And had a different outcome. And Takuma Morofuji, who just won
the team title.
Won
that was how he got national champion.
That's how he became the national champion.
That second place player, by the way, rescinded, so he was not actually on the Japanese national team.
And that let Ichiro Shimura,
who had finished fourth,
who was the alternate, get it.
Wow, so that seems like very analogous. I mean, it's not quite the same thing. I doubt we could recreate we couldn't recreate every hand. There's a chance we have their hands at the time of the misplay.
Right.
That's entirely possible.
You have Sensei's divining top shuffles. You have all this information and decisions that go into the game. In this game, it's much more complicated. This was a much more straightforward goblin-y versus something match. There wasn't a lot of deck manipulation or control elements or card drawing or putting stuff on the bottom of the library or anything like that. And it was a pretty stunning thing to be a part of, and to watch that happen.
This isn't stunning. This is pretty stunning. I don't even know how it's going to turn out, but I mean, just the fact that this has happened is kind of surprising.
I mean, I'm sitting here, I feel like I should be talking. I'm just watching. I'm just sort of stunned by the sight of all these people, in front of all the computers in that back room and talking about this. And players have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they know what's going on, but do they know how it's going to get resolved? All right, Sheldon looks like he is coming out from underneath the hood. Now what?
Will the play stand, or will it be overturned?
Mort waves to the camera. We pan back. There's the technical room. That's the nerve center behind this webcast. behind the whole weekend. The podcast, the streaming video.
Making my wireless card work.
Making our wireless cards work, exactly. That's the Nerve Center, and I assume Sheldon is making his way back out to the players. There's the players. I'm sure they're... Wow. The Magic the Gathering World Championships on the line. All that history. Not to mention $12,000. Not to mention the difference between the winner levels up to level 6, and that's worth what? $500 per Pro Tour is $2,500, plus hotels at every Pro Tour. Plus the hotels.
Plus, I don't know if it...
Grand Prix appearance fee is several thousand. There's probably close to $20,000 on the line in this match.
Right.
No, wait.
The players do sometimes split the prize money, but even still, level 6 alone is worth easily $5,000 and probably closer to $8,000. Oh, and by the way,
I watched the tape.
All right, here we go.
A lot of data from it. But it seems as though that I want to make it very clear to both of you that if Yosei has resolved, Seedborn Muse doesn't untap anything on the skip untap stuff.
I don't think they're going to forget that again, Sheldon. Still, obviously, the right thing for the judge to do.
No. Okay. Yeah, because you skip the unstep, you skip the untap step, and Seedborn Muse says on the opponent's untap step, do something. So you can't do something on a step to skip. Yeah. Given that everybody involved missed it, I'm going to warn you for procedural error, because it's your card. You should know how it works correctly.
Looks like it's just a warning.
That's pretty much what I thought it would be.
I agree.
Okay. I understand that you guys have already resolved mulligans and everything on this game, on game 4.
We were stopped when it's 6 cards.
Okay, that's fine. We'll continue on from here.
All right. Head judge issues a warning to Katsuhiro Mori for procedural error, and the result stands. I think the thing he was looking for on the videotape was anything intentional? Was it anything other than an innocent mistake?
Right.
He looked at the tape, like you heard him say, I got a lot of data from it.
Right.
I think it's crystal clear to Sheldon, having watched the tape, that A, the mistake did happen, and B, that it was an completely innocent mistake. Therefore, it's a procedural error. Katsu does get a warning, but nowhere near enough evidence to actually reverse the outcome of the game or issue any penalty more severe than a warning. I think that's the right call.
I think so. If you go back and read the blog, I think from Friday, I did an interview with Sheldon about sort of the difficulties of judging the world with so many different languages and all the different concerns, and we also talked about when you're making a ruling. What are you looking for? How do you determine intent? How do you determine the difference between an accidental rules infraction and an intentional? And if you go back and read it, it's a pretty interesting insight into how Sheldon handles a situation like this, and probably explains why this worked out the way it worked out. Every infraction is assumed to be unintentional until you find some evidence that it was more nefarious than that.
Right.
And then at that point, things become disqualifiable offenses.
Yeah, the penalty guidelines are definitely set up. There's certain penalties for infractions, but if anybody's intentionally cheating, bounce them. Get them the hell out of the tournament.
So I think good job by Sheldon there.
I think so. And I don't think any of us will forget that interaction again in the future.
Absolutely not. I have a feeling we'll be reading about that interaction a lot on the internet for the next couple of weeks, actually.
All right, meanwhile, Game 4. Katsuhiro Mori is 1 game away from becoming the world champion. He's 1 game away from completing Japan's Triple Crown. Can he pull it off? Well, he had a mulligan in this game. Not in great shape from the start. He's got no pressure. He hasn't actually played a spell yet. Another relevant point to that judging call there. Both players are actually responsible for making sure that the game is played correctly. So, yeah, Katsuhiro Mori didn't know the interaction of his cards, but Frank Carson didn't know them either. And I think that's part of the reason why you don't upgrade in a situation like that, because, I mean, Carson is certainly responsible for making sure the game gets played correctly in addition to Katsuhiro Mori.
All right, well, Frank Carson has a turn 4 gifts ungiven going on here.
Yeah, this game looks great for Frank.
And nothing for Katsumori, who just said boom boom.
No, it's Carson said boom boom.
Oh, Carson said boom boom.
I think. I mean, that's what the gifts is for. Boom booms. Yosei, Kagamaru, Ink Eyes, and Moloku.
It's a legendary convention.
Which boom boom do you wish to die to, Katsuhiro?
He wishes
He
to die
says,
to Ink Eyes.
Kill me with a ninja. And a dragon.
Carson's got a little ground to make up here. He's down 2-1 now.
Yeah.
So,
It's looking good to force game 5 right now.
I'd like to get a look at Mori's hand, see what he's got going on. I wonder if he's got just a more of a top-heavy draw, Greater Good and Legends and stuff like that. Looks like a lot of land, actually. And,
Hey, Estelle. Locks it on Hierarch. 4-4, gain 4 life.
a lot of land on top of Carson's deck. Another locks it on Hierarch, 2 or 3 lands, and another card that I haven't been able to identify in. Oh, it might be 4 lands in Mori's hand. Oh, it's a Greater Good. That's Greater Good racing against Yosei. Interesting how much Carson's deck. Does that remind you of the old Pro Tour Dallas Shallow Grave deck?
Wow, that's actually from before my time.
Yeah, it was, I forget who played it, but you would Shallow Grave Nickel Bolas, hit your
Oh,
opponent,
yeah, I remember that deck.
empty their hand. Not quite the same. I mean, Yosei only taps all your lands down, but it's the same idea. Goro's Vengeance definitely has that feeling like Shallow Grave. I know that apparently Billy Jensen was thinking about bringing that deck to Grand Prix Philadelphia for the Legacy tournament. I was a little disappointed he didn't show up. It seems like it would have been a lot of fun to watch in action. And Ink Eyes is in play, just straight up, no ninjing.
What's he going to pick up, Yosei?
Walked right through the front door. Greater Good in play. I think actually this match looks really, really good for Katsumori.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to be able to draw through his deck. I mean, he can rip through 4 cards deep right now. He finds a Yosei.
He's being attacked by Ink Eyes and Yosei.
He's not being attacked by anything at the moment. He's got a Yosei in hand. So he's going to play Yosei. He's going to tap him down. He's going to draw 5 cards.
He untaps second with that play.
Oh, there's another Yosei. That's right. Yep, I'm forgetting about the damn second Yosei. How about, I think Katsumori could draw a lot of cards in this game. How's the reaction on the boards been to that whole situation?
Yeah, that's what I'm reading through. They're sort of split. Some of them wanted a game loss. Some of them most of the people who seem to have experience judging have concluded it seems like procedural error major, and the recommended penalty for that is a warning. He doesn't get to game loss until you go up to procedural error severe. And this doesn't sound severe. It seems like it's more analogous to the examples of procedural error major. Doesn't stop some people from saying game loss. Other people want to erase the game. Other people want to roll back the film,
there's always,
just like Japanese nationals.
I mean, that was a really rare exception. I know a number of judges hated the idea of what happened at Japanese nationals just because they don't want to have to, that always sort of gets trotted out there now, right? People say, oh, let's roll it back, but it's really really difficult to do without just absolutely perfect information.
Yeah.
And even with the perfect information, it's difficult to do because you have a lot of stuff, cards on top, cards on the bottom. I don't think it's something you can ever really. That's the last result I think you really want there.
Yeah.
And I think putting the onus on the players is fair here. And the players do need to know what's going on and take the time, think about what's in play, and stuff is you're gonna miss some stuff. It's gonna happen occasionally. Judges are gonna miss stuff. Players are gonna miss stuff. So there's a lot of cards out there, a lot of interactions.
Meanwhile, Gatsura Mori elected to play a second Hierarch. No greater good action. Not yet. He's got 19 life to play with. He's probably going to get attacked here by both Yosei and Inkais.
Sure.
And then, do you block Inkais?
Block Inkais,
Block
damage on the stack,
force Carson to regenerate, and then sack?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like the right play.
Draw 4, discard 3.
1,600 posts and counting in the form.
Wow. I imagine there's going to